All right.
Yes.
All right. You ready, Gamer Aimer?
Yes.
All right, cool. Here we go. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Of course, if you're seeing me right now, that probably means it's Saturday morning. Early on the West Coast, where I am, it's 8 a.m., but on the East Coast, it's 11 a.m., and it's Cafe BTW, a gaming morning podcast. And we are back with a guest. The last few weeks, it's just been me kind of deep diving, but I'm really excited to have Gamer Aimer here with us this morning. What's up, Gamer Aimer? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. It's an early morning, just excited to be here, talk about games bright and early. So this is definitely a fun time.
Yeah, they say our brains work the best in the morning, so maybe that's why doing a morning podcast is always good. But it's really great to have you. I think I connected with you probably just catching your, being in the retro gaming world. I don't remember where I initially discovered you, but I just feel like you're kind of like one of those awesome people that are part of the community. You have some we're going to get into it. You have an amazing collection, a whole bunch of stuff. Wanted to let everyone know it should be exclamation point guest in chat, and it should pull up all of Gamer Aimer's stuff. We have her link tree, her YouTube, her Twitter, her Instagram. You got it all. Mikey Love Retro says he discovered you on TikTok, Gamer Aimer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I know you're a big collector, but what I usually do with a guest is right at the top of the show. And just so everyone knows, today we're doing a little bit of a journey through the evolution of video game advertising with more of a focus on in-store advertising, which we're going to get to, which Gamer Aimer has some really cool stuff to share. But that said, we're going to go back in time with you, Gamer Aimer, and I want to hear, what is a story from your childhood that you think really sparked your love of video games as a kid?
So I would say like it was just right and early. So born in the 90s and I have older cousins. So anytime that I would go over their house because they had I had so many cousins at that house, they had a lot of kids. They had a Nintendo Entertainment System. And
Oh
anytime I
yeah.
went over there, we would turn it on and I would patiently wait my time to play, sitting on the couch with the controller in my hand, just waiting for one of them to maybe not make it through the level so that I could have my chance. And then I got, time to actually play. So I really wanted a video game system at my house. And for the holidays for Christmas one year, my parents got me the Jungle Green Nintendo 64. And from that point forward, just spending so much time playing the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, playing Donkey Kong 64, Mario, Zelda, and of course the list goes on. I just fell in love and I just started playing at friends' houses from there. I'd bring my controller over, the games, memory cards, and that's kind of all she wrote. That's where it started.
So you said the Jungle Green N64 is kind of like the first console you had that really kicked it off for you in a sense. I mean, you
Yes.
played the Nintendo Entertainment System, but so are you a big fan of the N64? I think I've seen a ton of N64 in your collection, so that's probably a yes. But
Yes.
what is it about the N64 that really connected to you back then?
I think it's just because it was mine. So it was my game system. And then a lot of my friends also had one, and we would all have different games. So it just felt like it was like never ending of a library. And I know that's funny to say today because there's only like 296 games. And then, you have different region variants, which I have. I have like a worldwide set of, Nintendo 64 consoles, controller variants.
That's
I have the
amazing.
full North American set of games, some of the PAL releases as well. And, I kind of just dove deep into it with all of the different displays, the cardboard advertisements, the kiosks, and the list goes on. So
I found this awesome video. Shout out to let's see, Retro Wolf 88 had filmed this, I guess, and I'm assuming
yes,
they were at your place. So this is
yes,
a really wonderful video, by the way, and a
yeah, he
really
did an amazing job.
and this is really showcasing your collection. And so let's talk about, before we get in, because I want to ask you about being a content creator, but where did collecting begin for you? Was it just because you started playing games and are you one of those people that held on to everything and your mom
Nope.
didn't? Okay, so let me hear that story. Where did this collection start? Because this is incredible, Gamer Aimer. Incredible.
Thank you. And he did such an amazing job. So I just wanted to shout him out again. He came over, he drove straight from his place, 10 or 11 hours just to film my
Amazing.
room.
I mean, it's worth the video. I mean, you have an extensive collection. So how did it all start and when did it start?
Yes. So pretty much growing up, I was that type of person where I couldn't really afford all of the next big things. At least my family and stuff, we couldn't. So we would get, a big gift on like the holidays or birthdays. It's not like we had all this money just to, spend on all of this stuff. I got a lot of hand-me-downs because I have older cousins, so the only thing that I have from my childhood is my jungle green Nintendo 64 because that was kind of like stored away, and then a few of the games and the controllers. So that was pretty much it. All of this stuff that you see here, I didn't start acquiring until after college, and I paid back all my student loans, and then I ended up getting my forever job, and then after that, I had extra income. So when you have extra income like that, you want to spend it on some fun things. So you have that adult money, all this like extra income, and then all of a sudden I just started growing my collection. So I started with my childhood jungle green N64, and then as you see here, I started with the N64. I wanted every
Is
color variant,
that's the
region
jungle
variant.
in the middle there, right? The one
Yes.
that's it. That's your original 64 right there.
Yes.
Wow, that's cool. Keep going. Sorry. And look at everyone. Look at this N64 collection. She's not kidding. This is awesome.
Yes. So there's, North American ones on the top. Then you have all the Fantastics. And then you have the two-toned colors, which are the Japanese exclusives. And then you have the North American Pikachu one right there. And then next to it, you have the Spice Orange and the lighter color blue. Those are Japanese exclusives. And then on the two ends right there, you'll see the Korean variants. You'll see the other variants, and there's an Australian one that's like right behind that one. That one is actually a developer unit. So it's the GameCube NR reader. It doesn't play real games. It only plays the development discs on there. So I just kind of like started branching out and finding all of this like weird and obscure stuff. And the next thing you know, I wanted more and more, and I started learning about the history. So this all kind of started about 7 years ago, I would say, a little over
Okay.
7 years.
Okay.
And that's kind of when I just started collecting. And every single thing that you see here, I have found through deals, connections, finding things secondhand, not paying full retail value for any of this stuff. I could not afford that in today's time. Um, but pretty much just stumbling upon these like rare items and just making those connections over these past like 7 and some years. And you got to think too, like 7 years ago, this was a whole different time. Things weren't as expensive as they are today. So I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, and so are you saying that you don't ever really use eBay or Macari and stuff like that? You like to find your stuff in person through trades or just secondhand and stuff like that? Is that
I
what you
mean,
mean?
I do
Or
use eBay, but I don't, it's not my preferred method, but sometimes I
same?
like to try and win those bids on things. But a lot of the stuff I have found local. Now, quite a bit I have found online as well, but sometimes it's like meeting up on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or yard sales, flea markets, thrift stores, and then, of course, eBay, but not all of this came from eBay.
Phantom Cat Punch in chat says, I'd settle for your Sonic and Knuckles shirt. That said, a really good point about collecting before this kind of boom happened.
Mhm.
Actually, the boom kind of started happening, in my opinion, in 2018, 2019, kind of right before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic happened, everything just went crazy with collecting.
Yes.
Me personally, I don't have this big of a collection, but what I do have, Gamer Aimer, is I have close to a complete US run collection of the Sega Saturn. But I'll tell you
Okay.
why it's interesting is part of it's from my childhood, but I started collecting Sega Saturn in 2007. That's when I started
Mhm.
collecting, and no one was paying attention to Sega Saturn. Not a single person was buying them in the store. And fast forward now, Sega Saturn is too pricey to even think about collecting. I saw you do have some Saturn games, though. I did see that.
Yes.
So it really goes to show you that, you were lucky to get in kind of before the boom, because how could anyone really afford to, it's really tough out there right now. It's almost
Mhm.
impossible. Um, Mikey said Mikey Loves Retro says, man, local is rough here in New York as everyone seems like they've got gold. Finding deals are getting harder and harder. I think that's in general, Mikey. I'm in LA and it's just tougher and tougher. There's more and more retro stores popping up, but you know, prices aren't cheap.
Mhm.
But Gamer Aimer, this is really cool. And I guess what started to say to you, what now the final question is like, what got you into content creation and when did that start?
So this one's another fun story. So I started buying all this stuff over again, and one of my friends was like, "Hey, you should create an Instagram account and you should post your pickups on there. I see a bunch of other people do it." I said, "What? There's this whole world of that?" So I started posting pictures of like my recent pickups and things like that. And next thing you know, I started seeing this whole community of people who post pictures, who show off these like weird things. Next thing you know, I'm searching for these items. I'm trying to find them in my local stores. I'm trying to find them on eBay or, other places. And someone sends me a message on Instagram and says, "Hey, I see you might be local to me. Not that I'm, a stalker or anything. Would you like to meet up for lunch at this local like mall, and we can meet in this restaurant? I have a YouTube channel. I make content creation for Magic the Gathering cards. I make X amount of dollars per month. Maybe we could strike up a business deal." And I said, "I don't know what that's about, but sure, I'll go." So
Okay.
so so I meet this strange person, and next thing you know, we're talking over how he's gonna come to my, at the time, like, apartment that I had. And he wanted to film my collection, edit all of my stuff, post it on a channel, which I had already like started a channel just to like get the name, because I figured it in the future I may, start, but I didn't really know that there was this whole community world on YouTube, because I use YouTube for different reasons, like how to, and how to like learn how to do stuff. So next thing you know, he posted my first game room tour video, and it did surprisingly well. Like it got a couple hundred people like right off the bat. And then everyone was like, "Hey, when are you going to post your next video?" So he posted a second one. And then after that, he just
Hey
kind
guys,
of
it's
like
Gamer
went
Aimer.
ghost. So I kept messaging him like, "Hey, like I hope all is well. I hope everything's okay." Yada yada. And next thing you know, he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it would take a lot away from my channel. Good luck to you. I'm here if you need any help with any questions." And I was like, "Thank you. I appreciate it. I thank you so much for at least getting me started in this." And the next thing you know, it just kind of like took off from there.
That's awesome. And I love your content. I also love your enthusiasm on your videos. Like you always do like, "Hey, it's Gamer Aimer." You're very enthused and happy and you're a very good addition to the retro community. So glad to have you part of it and thanks for sharing all that stuff. And I did have in chat, Mikey Loves Retro asked, "What is the most valuable piece in your collection?"
It's a little hard to like gauge that. So I mean, I have that Nintendo 64, that like Fox Data one, there's only like 10 or 12 or so like in the world.
Oh my
And I've
God.
been offered a crazy amount of money for that. But I would say probably one of the other items that I have a sealed Mike Tyson's Punch Out video game store display standee from the Nintendo Entertainment System era. It's about 5'9", so like really tall, of Mike Tyson.
Did you
He's
put that
holding
in the video that you sent me?
um I'm
Maybe
not sure
not.
if I
I
did.
don't think you did, but that's okay. Go
So
ahead.
I have not opened it. So it's just a
Oh,
generic cardboard box
right. So you can't see it.
because it's sealed, and it's the only one that we know of in the world
Holy
that's
moly.
still sealed.
That's
And
still sealed.
yes. So it's sealed from the 80s, and I
That's
bought it
amazing.
for $80.
Oh my God. That's a great deal, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was offered like close to like $10,000 for it as soon as I got it home, and then I've learned that people would pay even more than that. But it's not really for sale. It's not
And
something that I want to sell. I
and
just
you're not a reseller, right? Like that's not something, or do you do trades maybe, but maybe if it's trading, you're doing it to complete your
yes.
collection in a sense, but you don't resell and stuff like that, right?
No, I tried to do like not like online or anything, but like local trades or like local, like if I buy another Wii or something, like if I find a Wii for like $5, of course I'm gonna try and sell it. But then that money goes right back into my collection.
Sure.
But I don't like go out there and do that whole entire like game of, oh, I need to buy a whole table, I need to create a store online, I need to do that. I don't really have time for all that. So I just, if I get extras, then I'll trade it with people. That's mostly what I'm doing, just so I can get more and more stuff in the collection.
That's really cool. And I must say, I don't think we have tons of retro enthusiasts on the show and collectors, but I don't think I've had someone that's had such a really just like robust collection and also displayable. Unfortunately, Gamer Aimer, I live in a 600 square foot apartment in Los Angeles, and most of my collection's in storage, but my Saturn collection's here, and like maybe a few of I keep my Saturn close because it's like, my beloved collection. But one day, I want to have a room kind of like you have, and looking at your room is really inspirational, and really cool. And did you do this all yourself, like building, setting it up and stuff, or did you have help with it, or did someone help you organize it, or was this all you, the whole
So,
setup?
so funny story. So like this video that we're seeing is a little it looks a little bit different now, obviously, but when I first moved in, so okay, backtrack. I saved up for a house and I wanted to purchase my own house, and I was so thrilled to do so. And I saw this house here. This was like the first house that I saw. And I went straight down to the basement. I said, forget the kitchen, forget everything else. I need to know what the basement looks like. So I go in there and then I start envisioning all of my stuff fitting in there with different shelves. I had like no shelves when I moved in because they all like broke during transport and stuff, and just moving as much as I could. And then I figured I'm going to like keep buying stuff, keep purchasing things. So I moved in and I started bringing stuff into the basement, and I was like, there's only 3 outlets down here. So
Oh
I
no.
had already painted. I painted the ceilings and the walls, and I painted them an arcade white and Sonic gray. Like
Oh.
that's what they were called at the store. They like drew my eyes into those colors, and then I read them and I was like, this was meant to be. So then next thing you know, I had to start cutting drywall, and a family friend came out and helped me run electrical wires, and he had to run it to the breaker box and add like a whole new like breaker essentially for all of this stuff. So then I had to like respackle, resand, respackle, do a skim coat, and then paint over top of it again. And after, doing all that, I started moving all this stuff in, and then I kept buying stuff. And then I was like, you know what, this will look better here. And then I started buying, new shelving. And then I found that the way to go is to buy used shelving. That way you don't spend all this insane amounts of money. And they can just all kind of unscrew. You can load it up in your car piece by piece. Takes a little bit of extra time, but you save hundreds and thousands of dollars. So next thing you know, I just started piecing things in the room. I kind of had this room that we're in right now. That's like my kind of like arcade room. So I actually had to like widen the door frame to fit some of the kiosks and the arcade machine in there. And then I also have my garage upstairs, which has more arcade machines. And I'm going to turn that into another game room soon.
I love
And
that.
then to the right is a bathroom.
Oh, so
Um,
you
and, I'm, and
there.
I'm going to turn that into a video game related bathroom.
That's awesome. Well, glad you have the bathroom down there because it's, I don't know, I wouldn't want to leave this room. So you got everything, and that's great. And Gamer Aimer, thanks for talking through this. I think this is fantastic. Like, it's just really cool to see such a good collection, and congratulations on achieving a collection like this. Here. Like, it's really cool.
Where?
Genzo, thank you so much for the resub. All right, appreciate it, man. Did you do 36 times? What is that? Oh, that's your 36 months. Okay, got it. All right, Gamer Aimer. So that said, thank you so much for all that. Anyway, everyone in chat, and just so you know, and if you're on VOD and YouTube, you'll see in the description, you'll have all the Gamer Aimer stuff. So please check out her YouTube, her Twitter. She's all over the place, but I think her YouTube is probably where you'll find some of the best content. And of course, you're live, on TikTok too. Not live, but you do stuff on TikTok as well.
Yeah.
I want to get into the topic today, which is kind of like a little bit of an evolution of video game advertisement, or not so much an evolution, but we're going to talk about different types of advertisement. And we're also going to use some of the stuff you actually own to talk about in-store stand-up ads, which is something that I think a lot of people love and enjoy, but not a lot of people collect. So we'll get into that. Before I get there, I do want to say another reminder, everyone, that we have the retro gaming community on Twitter, which is now over 2,100 members. And if you want to join, you could go to my Twitter. It's pinned at the top. Out of my collection, I am giving away, just for being in the group, we're giving out the Legend of Dragoon for the March giveaway. So check it out. All you have to do to enter is tell me what's your favorite PlayStation game of all time. It's pinned to the top of the community, but I do want to give a big shout out to the retro gaming community on Twitter. We keep growing, and there's just lots of awesome people that are continuing to post. And Gamer, I don't know if I sent you an invite to this or you're part of it, but it's a private group on Twitter where people can share their love of their content and whatnot. So
very nice.
Also, and if I didn't send you an invite, I'm sorry, and I will send you an invite. But this is something I picked up recently, Gamer Aimer, and I wanted to talk about it. I, for years, have been looking for a 3DO, and the 3DO back in the day when I was a really young lad, there was a store called Service Merchandise. You might have heard of it before. I grew up in the Northeast, and Service Merchandise was like kind of one of these stores that was like PC Richards and Sons, and I don't know, like kind of like Best Buy back in the day. And they had a display of the 3DO. And 30 years ago, in 1993, when they had the Panasonic 3DO, my dad was gonna potentially buy it for me, but we ended up not getting it. But finally, a guy that I know here in Southern California found a complete in box 3DO and gave me a really great deal on it. And I finally have a 3DO back in my collection. Is this something you have? Do you have a 3DO, Gamer Aimer?
Yes.
All right. I was going to say, wow, I'd be surprised if you didn't. But it's a system that I've been dying to get, and I'm really excited to have it back. I have a bunch of games that I have on the way, especially Star Control 2. Or Star Command 2, I forget which one it is, Wing Commander 3, Road Rash, Need for Speed. There's a lot of great 3DO games. A lot of people say it had horrible games, but honestly, it wasn't that horrible. It had some great games. You know, I always tell people there might have been, you know, every console has bad games, right? Just because they have bad games doesn't mean the console itself is bad. Even the Jaguar has good games, okay? So I always tell people, like, I got comments that say, oh, it's such a crappy system. Like, not technically. The 3DO was pretty advanced and pretty cool. But anyway, I wanted to bring that up. But Gamer, in your eyes, what is advertising? How would you define advertising? What does it do to the human brain?
So I'd say pretty much it's like some sort of piece or like something that kind of promotes something else. So it's like something that gets you drawn into that item, or curious about that item, and just like promotes it. I'd say something along those lines.
Advertising has, in a lot of ways, unfortunately, been a part of human existence in the last, the 21st century more than ever, especially when the advent of television. But newspaper ads have been around for a very long time. But when it comes to video games, I think that one thing that people know and expect is that video game advertisement is such an embedded part of this industry. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So what is advertising? Well, advertising is a way of marketing your business in order to increase sales and make your audience aware of your products or services. Until a customer deals with you directly or actually buys your product or services, your advertising may help from their first impression to get you to purchase in their business, right? So that is essentially, and whenever I talk about a topic, we have to define what the hell it is. And even though it's a very simple thing that is every day in everyone's life, you still have to understand what advertising is. Now, video game advertising, for me personally, really kicked into gear in the 80s when I started buying video game magazines like Nintendo Power, anything you could think of from back in the early days, where a good percentage of video game magazines, I would say, like, you would have definitely content, but every page you turned, the other page was an advertisement Is that something you remember, Game Raymer, in a Nintendo Power? You might see one page give you content,
Yes.
but the page on the right is a total advertisement. Um,
Yes.
and these are some just general ones that, have popped up over the years. I'm just giving an example. There was some very, uh, and it really tells you a time, because video game advertisement has been very, a lot of the advertisers wouldn't get away with what they did back then today, right? There was a lot of
Exactly.
sexism in video game advertising, racism. There was all types of terrible things in video game advertisements. I mean, they literally said shift happens, which means shit happens. But I don't know if they would go that far, especially this ad where the guy is laying with his girlfriend and he's playing his SP. That's a little bit very like late 90s, early 2000s. This day and age, it's a lot different. But I mean, look at this one. Keep it in your pants. I mean, do you think that this kind of advertisement would be doing this type of advertisement today in video games?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, right. But then you had the basic ones, right? You had the regular ones. Looking more at print ads, are there any ones that really stand out to you from your childhood that you remember? I mean, obviously there's a bunch here that I could pull up and are just a really good reminder of what video game advertisements in print ads were like, because that's where we're starting. We saw that one already.
Yeah,
What
a lot of those handheld ones I feel like really stick out to me. Just pretty much any and all of them. Because I just remember like the Game Boy Color era a lot, the Nintendo 64. And then I do remember seeing stuff like the console wars, like seeing like Sega versus Nintendo.
we'll get into
I,
that.
I do remember seeing a lot of that. And then, of course, as time goes on, a lot of the PlayStation and Xbox and just seeing tons of those. It just all brings back so many memories.
Would you say that video game advertisement, because there were so many great advertisements back then, but I feel like there's like this era of advertising and print ads, it's just like it's kind of like an old school. It's
Yes.
old school. It's like something that's in the past that we'll never experience it in this way. And I think
Mhm.
it's like such a throwback to a time when we were very lucky to have this kind of, I mean, even though it was advertising, it was really awesome. Most of the time it was really awesome to look at this stuff, right?
Mhm.
Now, we're going to talk about some very important advertising campaigns. One of the biggest ones for Nintendo back in the day was Nintendo Now You're Playing with Power. Does that
Mhm.
ring any bells to you? Does that remind you of
Yes.
anything? And let me give you a little bit of history on this. So the Now You're Playing with Power slogan was used in the 1980s and the 1990s ads for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It helped establish the NES as a dominant force in the industry and set the stage for the future of video game advertisement. It remains to be one of the most beloved advertising campaigns in the history of video games. Would you agree with that, Gamer Amer?
Yes.
I mean, these are some Now You're Playing with Power ads. Um, it was so powerful. I mean, this is such an iconic advertisement style. I mean, Now You're Playing with Power is awesome. Now, on the other side of the fence, another most important one, and very, very controversial at the time, but actually, I guess it's kind of what happened. But it's Genesis does what Nintendo. And this was a
Mhm.
marketing campaign used by Sega to promote the Sega Genesis console in the early 90s. The campaign emphasized the superior graphics and gameplay capabilities of the Genesis compared to Nintendo consoles and helped establish Sega as a major player in the video game industry. What do you remember of this famous controversial style that Sega put out in the 90s? Genesis does what Nintendo don't.
Yes. So I just remember a lot of those commercials where they were trying to show that Sega was like in your face. It was the cool kid. It literally was like this not child friendly or family friendly system. It was definitely out there in your face. And, it's crazy. They wanted to make it more edgier. They wanted to make it, like that cool kid. Like you were the cool kid if you bought a Sega over Nintendo. You didn't want child's play. You didn't want all that type of stuff. So, seeing that, I just remember like that kind of like starting off this whole console wars. And, I wanted a Sega Genesis. And then my parents found one at a yard sale and they later threw it all away. But, I got to play a lot of these like Mortal Kombat and stuff with the blood, not the sweat. I just remember playing
The blood code.
like in your face type of games. And I thought I was, like a cool kid.
You were a cool kid. And hey, no fear. Good to see you in chat. Thank you so much. And everyone that's joined us today as well, me and Gamer Aimer. I think that I was really like, I mean, you look at these types of advertisements, right? And it's almost like, this day and age, you don't really see this. I mean, there is competition between Xbox and Sony and Nintendo, but you don't see that direct like competitional advertisement slogans like this, like Genesis does what Nintendo don't. Like that's really like spot on to like saying, hey, we are here to battle Nintendo. And this was very clever. And there was a time when Sega did pull a lot of the American market towards them because of this kind of advertisement. Moving on, and here's another one to show you. I want to get into now, that's print ads. Let's quickly get into in-store ads. Now, this is a video I posted today, actually. It's an old training video on how to post in-store advertisements in Babbage's. Did you have Babbage's by you growing up, Gamer Aimer? Do you remember?
I don't think so.
Have you ever heard of it?
Yes.
So Babbage's was like eventually Babbage's got bought out by GameStop and got kind of like sucked in just like Funkoland did. Babbage's, though, was a really great store, and I always loved the style that they did to display their art and their in-store advertisement. And this is an old video that kind of was built just as a training video.
Oh, I have that.
Yeah, there you go. And that's what I wanted to bring up, because in-store advertisement, people can talk about print ads till they're dead in the face, but I want to talk about in-store advertisement, and this is a part of your collection that's really cool. What is it? Where does this Mario come from? Was this from an in-store advertisement? Like what is the history of this particular one?
So this one actually went out to a lot of different, video game stores or like department stores where they had it. I've seen quite a few of these in person over the years, but I never thought that I'd be able to own one. This one in particular came from, there's actually a toy store that was kind of local to me. And I went in there and I saw that the red was completely faded and they wanted like $3,000 or something for it. And I passed on it. So the next year I went in, I saw that they tried to like fix the red on it and they had a lower price tag by like over $1,000. So then I was joking with the owner of the store and I was like, hey, how much would it take to, take Mario home? And he went down even more money for me because he said, we've seen you before. You've made cool videos for our store. We really appreciate it. We know it'll go into good hands. So I messaged a buddy of mine and said, hey, I'm thinking about picking this up. And he said, I'll give you X amount of dollars not to pick it up.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to buy it then. So I bought it, like, because knowing that it was a really good deal. And then I've seen worse condition ones sell for close to like $6,000. And I did not even pay like that insane amount of money for it. So
how heavy is this thing?
So it's actually very light.
Okay.
It's just the base that's heavy. So Mario is like hollow. Now they made these back in the day in the Nintendo 64 era. They had Mario. They had a really cool Star Fox. They had the Pikachu that people have seen. And they made like, some other ones. They made earlier style Marios as well. And they only made several hundred of these. And these were all like hand sprayed. So some guy like made all of these and then like, I guess with the mold, I would think. And then he sprayed all of them. They were all taped off. He sprayed all of them. And the red is said to have, faded a lot more than other colors have. So usually people have to get them professionally redone. At some point I'll probably have to have it like touched up a little bit better professional style, but overall it's in very great shape.
Really cool.
And it does have that base. And another one that I actually picked up for a buddy of mine because he bought it, said, hey, can you just hang on to it at your house and I'll arrange pickup, because he trusted me. That guy said that he used to work for Comp USA. Sure. And that's where one of his was from. So I would imagine that they were from like all of these different stores back in the day that had these as their advertisement, because you could order them from the Nintendo catalogs, the Nintendo like purchasing catalogs back in the day, but only store owners, not really people.
That's really cool. I think this is awesome because it's, a really good example. Even though it's not promoting a particular game, it's promoting the brand of
Yes.
Nintendo simply by showing a standing Mario. I've seen
Mhm.
that. I'm pretty sure I've seen this before in the wild. Now moving, and by the way, everyone, this is actual footage from Gamer Aimers collection. So just wanted you to know that this is some cool stuff. Let's talk about this World of Nintendo sign. Another example of an in-store marketing sign that has beautiful lights. Where did you get this one? What's the history of this one? And I know the World
Yeah.
of Nintendo was a whole marketing campaign for in-store advertisement, and they had products and stuff. But love to hear where you got this and what's the history there.
So this one's like more of the time frame of like Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Nintendo. And this one is not just like a neon sign or a regular light up sign. This is what they call a fiber optic sign. So,
Ooh.
but behind each of those like little lights right there, those little dots, you have all of these like long strings and they all kind of like pull back into like one thing. And essentially
Oh,
it
we'll go
has
to
this
this one.
color wheel and this whole pattern of how it goes. So like when it's back like that, you could see the different colors kind of like moving through it, and it's not just all one color. So these are very, very sought after, and I've seen these go for more than like $7,000 for certain signs like
Holy
this.
crap.
Now this is one that I got super lucky on. I was at a video game convention in Pennsylvania, and a buddy of mine messaged me and said, "Hey, do you know anything about this?" and sent me a picture of it. I said, "You must be joking with me. I can come now and meet you and we can talk about this." So I leave the convention early and I drive to his place. And I didn't really know this person. Like I had bought something else from him before, so I didn't know if he was messing with me. I didn't know if he was like a legit person, but I did not want to take that chance. So I pull up to his house and this is sitting on top of a burn barrel in his front yard.
A
And he has it
burn
plugged
barrel.
in.
Oh no.
Oh,
I lost you there for a second. There you are.
oh,
I hear you.
sorry. Sometimes it does that. Can you still hear me?
I hear you loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. So pretty much, I pull up to his house, and it's just like sitting there on top of like this metal like burn barrel where you'd put like fire in. It has like holes poked in it. I guess you would like throw like junk and stuff that you just want to like
Oh
clear
my
out.
God. How dare they?
I know. So it was sitting on it, and he plugged it in for me, and I nearly like had a heart attack. I was so excited, and I was like, "Well, what do you want for it?" And he's like, "I don't know, $100. I got it for free." And I'm like I did not know that it was worth as much as it was, but I knew it was worth way more than 100. So I said, "Hold on, is there?" This is crazy. I was like, "Is there an ATM around here? I want to give you a little bit more." So
Oh.
I leave this and I drive to the ATM, and it only let you take out like so much, like a couple $100. And I had a little bit on me from like the convention. So I just paid him, like a few hundred for it. Well, I guess like six. And he was super excited. He did not want to take the money. We literally like fought back and forth of like, "No, you're going to take this." And I walked away with this with like the biggest smile on my face, and he knew that it was going into a great collection, and he didn't care about like the money part of it. He was just so thrilled, to find this and save it from some person's barn or something, wherever it was, and they were just clearing it out like junk removal. So I was just like shocked, and I can't believe, I have this beautiful piece of history here. So it's just insane to me.
That's really cool. I think this is like a really great piece. And I do remember this sign when I was a kid, honestly. Like I remember this sign. And it's crazy. So quickly, let's go through some other ones. Um this Sonic standing up one, what is this one attached to? What was it used for?
So pretty much on that like whiteboard, it's like a dry erase board. You would put whatever like coming soon, whatever new video games are coming out for like the Sega Genesis and stuff.
Smart.
So you would just write them down, and the cool thing is it does light up. So it has like this pink neon sign or neon light tube on there. So that's actually like one that I hunted down for, and I was, super thrilled to have it. And
And
then this Pokemon one that we're like going through, it just those cardboard pieces are what often get like thrown away. So it's just insane to see those being saved and well kept over the years.
wow.
you know.
This one is probably just with the amount of Pokemon, nuts out there that love collecting Pokemon, because Pokemon has become this like this
Yes.
mega collecting business. I'm sure people reach out to you on this one. I mean, I would imagine this does not go for cheap. This is like
Mhm.
probably worth a lot, I would imagine, right?
And you would think because it's cardboard, the
Oh,
stuff wouldn't have value, but cardboard, you slap Nintendo, you slap Pokemon on it, you slap something, retro, and like that stuff sells. Like you could probably get thousands of dollars just for these pieces of cardboard.
that's so crazy. How about this Mario Kart Double Dash? This is cool.
So that's a banner. So Nintendo made a lot of banners back in the day on like the Nintendo 64, really Super Nintendo and 64 and GameCube era. They had like these wooden dowels at the top and bottom to kind of like hold the weight and hold the banner to like, like elongate it type of thing. And it's double sided. So those were meant to like hang up in stores where you could see them from both sides. I do have quite a few. I have that one. I have a I think it's like a Star Wars one for the Nintendo 64. I have a wrestling one for the Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo era. And then I even have like a cardboard one that mimics those for Mortal Kombat 4
Ooh.
on the Nintendo 64. So, like, those are just some really cool pieces and they roll up pretty small. So, a lot of people could have actually saved those because they are like this, like, banner, like, plastic material. It kind of folds well, or it doesn't fold, but it rolls up well. So, you can like save those.
And then you have these like little, which I remember these are kind of like 3D pop up advertisements that you might see like on the counter at like a store,
Yes.
right? These are cool too. I'm sure these are big collectibles as well. I don't see much of those. And what about this Donkey Konga? This is awesome, by the way.
So these are all like those counter, standing. So right there in that box to the side, that's, not really
Yeah,
related to that is the Mike Tyson Punch Out
there
standee.
it
So
is, everyone. There it is.
it just came in like a generic box,
That's
and
so
it's
funny.
it's insane that like just a cardboard box, something could be worth that. But yes, these cardboard standees, but they're like the counter
That's what we
display
call them,
ones.
standees, little standees. That's a
So
beautiful
those are all
fire
like those.
emblem.
Yes.
Wow.
And I'm not sure. Okay, good. I do show that. So that one is the display box. So that's what the boxes would look like when they were shipped out to the different stores.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a part of collecting that I don't see very often. I mean, there's rarely do I ever go to like a swap, and we have a lot of retro swap events in LA. I rarely ever see. There is a guy though that I know that collects these very religiously, but he doesn't sell them. I never see these on sale. Um, the only standee I have, I don't have a video of it, is at 7-Eleven when Deadpool 2 came out. They
Oh,
had a
nice.
they had a Deadpool 2 standee that said something about Slurpees. And
Yes.
I asked the 7-Eleven guy, I was like, hey, when is this run over? And he's like, I think we have to keep it up for another month. And I said, is there any way you can let me have this when you're done with it? And he says, sure. And he actually came through. So I showed up one day and he gave it to me and it folded up. So in my storage unit, Deadpool's just chilling as a standee. I think
That's awesome.
that's probably got some value to it as a, if you're a Deadpool fanatic. That's
Mhm.
the only one I have, and it's not even video game related, but it's definitely movie related. And here's a beautiful Pikmin. Is this Pikmin the original for the GameCube? Oh no, it's
I think
two.
it's
It's
two.
two.
Yes.
Awesome. Then we got a Sonic the Hedgehog. Beautiful. Look at these things.
Yes. This
Where
one,
are you storing these like closed most of the time, or you keep them open most of the time? Do you have room for
they're
that?
all just they're open. They're just in my rooms, in the basement, like the two gaming areas that I have. So
Wow.
that one's actually from McDonald's. So those are
Ooh.
those Happy Meal toys that you would see.
Yeah.
And that one's actually like a pretty sought after one, along with the Mario toys that you could have gotten, back in the day. So this one I think was like 93 or 94 at McDonald's. And the really cool thing is that that one actually advertised the video game for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and 10,000 lucky people could have entered to win a copy of that game. So it's not just the toys. This one actually ties in the actual video game.
That's
So
awesome.
I really like that display. I think it was done well. I love the placement of the toys on there, and I just feel like the history of it is like so awesome, and that's definitely a favorite for a lot of Sonic collectors.
Yeah, and I mean that's a classic commercial as well. I shared this commercial of these toys too. It's one of the famous ones. Beyond the Super Mario Brothers 3 Nintendo. Oh, here it is. You did put the Mike Tyson Punch Out standee here. Here it is.
Yep, there it is.
There it
All its
is
glory.
in all its
Cardboard.
glory in cardboard brown. But pretty awesome. Do you think you'll ever open it up, or you'll always keep it like this, you think?
No, the goal is I would love to own an opened one so that I
Ah,
don't so that I can either like have that one like sealed into like a display case of some sort. Um, or if one day if I do go the route of getting some sort of museum or like a store with a museum or something, like down the line, I would love to have that as like, a displayed item.
that's a cool Xbox One. I beta tested Xbox Live, believe it or not, and
Oh,
unfortunately don't have the beta kit anymore. But this reminds me of the early days of Xbox Live. This is
yeah.
a really cool one too. I collect Xbox as well, so
Okay.
man, I would do anything for that standee. And then you have, of course, classic Mortal Kombat here. This is two, Mortal Kombat 2.
Yes.
I'm sure this one's sought after for sure. We we
Yes.
we had Daniel Pesina on the show a long time ago. You know who Daniel Pesina is? He's Johnny Cage from Mortal
Yes.
Kombat.
Yes,
Um,
I met him, and I have a signed autograph thing over there of when we took photos and stuff together. I have his autograph quite a few times on different things.
he is
So
so important to the choreography of Mortal Kombat, and
yes.
we definitely mentioned that on the show. He came on in 2020 during the pandemic, and we had an amazing episode. And he put his glasses on and did the Johnny Cage thing, which is awesome. No, but thanks for sending me this video, and it's really helpful to talk through actual stand ads that someone owns. Um, Quickly, because we've gone through a lot. I do want to, before we kind of go talk about, obviously we mentioned it, that video game advertisements as videos are very important to remember. This is Halo 3 Believe trailer, which was very important. I'm going to pull up
Mhm.
some other ones you might remember. Obviously, this is a
Yes.
famous one, the Super Smash Brothers commercial, where
Mhm.
they're all dressed in IRL and dancing and then start beating each other up. This is a great example of a video advertisement. Um, what else I got here? I got this is a Burger King Xbox 360 commercial with the King. Um,
Yes.
there he is. He also has his own game. Um,
Yeah, there's like three of them, I think.
yep. And
They're all
then
terrible.
this was the Wii, when they were advertising for the Wii and how to play the Wii. This is the first commercial that they came out with, obviously, and that was a very important piece in video game advertising. This is an actual Genesis does what Nintendo doesn't commercial. And I've done an episode on these, but I'm just quickly going through them. This is a Atari 2600 commercial with Phil Hartman, if you remember Phil Hartman, of course. And then let's see what else I got here.
Yeah, these are all classics.
Yeah,
They're like throwbacks.
this is Kingdom Hearts commercial, the
Yes.
original. And then the famous Jack Black commercial when he was a kid. Looks exactly the same as he did when he was a kid as he does now, in a sense. Um, this one's called Meet Pitfall Harry.
Hmm.
Where is he? There he is. Now, before we kind of to end the show, I want to talk about kind of like where advertisements gone. And a lot of what's happening to gaming advertisements is there's in-game advertisement now. There's
Hmm.
examples of stuff happening in-game. And one of the big games that I don't play much, but is super popular with a younger crowd is Fortnite, right? Fortnite is literally integrating brands, movies into the game itself, which is something that happened. Like, we did have video games, like there was the Pepsi game and stuff like that, but it's becoming just the norm for video games in the modern age to have playable characters from movies like Thanos and the Marvel characters in Fortnite. And Fortnite also has like DJs and famous musicians in their game. What do you think about this kind of like modern version of advertising. It's not the same, right? It's just kind of like, it's cool in a
No.
sense, but what do you think about this in-game marketing style that we're starting to see as like kind of like a common thread these days?
Yeah, it's just like so different than what we're used to, with the magazines, the print. It's like all that stuff is going away. So what are the next options? If things are going digital, if things are, it seems like they're just throwing this stuff in the games and it's almost like you can't get away from it and you can't just like enjoy the game anymore. You see like all of this stuff like in your face, or you need to have the next skin or the next, costume or something like in the game. So it's a little different. I guess some people enjoy seeing different things kind of like marketing in towards the games, but it's just so different than what we're used to.
And then have you ever seen Minority Report, Gamer Aimer?
Probably.
It's with Tom Cruise. It was directed by
Yes.
Steven Spielberg. There's a
Okay, yes.
scene where he's walking here, and the advertisement that's popping up is related to what he knows personally. And this kind of reminds me of like when Amazon ads start popping up on things that are related to what you're Google searching. And
Yes.
in this, it's kind of like a fast forward into the future look at what advertising can be like. And I thought this was a great example. It's literally scanning his eyes and it's creating ads that relate to him and what he likes. And it's really, really, really strange and scary. But this is kind of like where advertisement's going. And the more it happens in like a modern world, I feel like this is more and more realistic. And I think it's kind of scary in a sense too. And I can't imagine where video game advertisements are going to go. So did some Google searching. What's the future of advertisement in video games look like? The next frontier for advertising industry in-game advertising is set for a rise of 81% of media buyers are planning to increase in-game ad spending over the next 12 months, and 93 of media buyers intend to run in-game advertising all the way through 2025. And that's pretty much what's happening. We've gone from print ads to in-store ads, which, brick and mortar stores, Gamer Aimer, are kind of going to the wayside. We barely go in except for retro stores, but retro stores aren't getting new ads. They're just promoting old stuff like you have. There's nothing new about it. Mikey's Love Retro says, I hate it as forcing it down your throat. On the other side, it also is if you don't play the game, you don't see the advertisement. I also think companies like Nintendo and Sony and Nintendo Direct or State of Plays, that's their advertising now. Yeah, it's a different world. And Gamer Aimer, before we kind of head out to the end of the show, every episode I always ask the community, what is their favorite video game ads or whatever the topic is. So today on Twitter, I said video game ads have come a long way since the 80s and 90s. What's your favorite video game ad you remember seeing as a kid? So we're going to look through this. One that someone mentioned was Welcome to the Next Level, which was an awesome ad. I remember those. Kevin says the one for the original Wario Land where he's trying to hypnotize you saying you're getting very greedy. That's a good one. Alex says when you're played Sonic the Hedgehog, other games just feel a bit slow. Oh, that's a good advertisement. I remember that. Mortal Monday, Mortal Kombat. It was an epic because it drew so much attention. Christoph says, this might sound weird, but for me, the ads that sold me often was the demos that came with the PlayStation magazines, reading about games, trying the demo discs, and many media. That's a great point. Brass says, as a kid, The Legend of Zelda rap. And as an adult, Activision Ice Hockey for the 2600, starring then and unknown Phil Hartman, which you actually showed. Let me read a few more. Here's someone that's showing the Super Smash Brothers. This one's showing We Need a Game with Cool Weapons, which is a Wild 9 PlayStation commercial from 1998. This one, I lost my shit as a teen back then when this aired. It's a Sims 2 official trailer. Still the best, which is Super Mario 3 commercial. So obviously, a lot of people, as you can see, Gamer Aimer have connect, and this is where they're chanting Mario, Mario. This is a classic one. That's a great one. But as you can see, it's not just us, Gamer Aimer. Lots of people have connections to video game ads. So if you could take all that we've done, what's kind of like a takeaway from this episode is that we'll never experience ads the way they are, and maybe the best way to experience them, especially print and in-person ads, is by collecting them? Or do you think it's almost impossible to collect them like you do? Like, what is the future of all this stuff? Is it in game? Are we ever going to see this stuff again, print and stuff like that, or is it gone forever, you think?
I mean, if you go into like some, stores like GameStop and other areas like Target, Target has that big, everyone knows what I'm talking about, the big pole, and you have Mario kind of like wrapped around the pole. Everyone wants that. So I feel like you still will see that, but it's not to like those crazy kind of like in your face type of ads. So I feel like it is a lot different than what it used to be. And I feel like maybe we're going to see a lot more like everything's going digital. Maybe we'll see like a bunch of stuff like in games, you know, type of advertising, but you will still see some of the cool things, but you might just see less and less of it than what you remember back in the day. Like there's going to be more posters. I feel like when you go into GameStop, you see like a lot of posters, you see like a lot of those boxes, but you just necessarily don't see like those big full size, cardboard standees. I guess with like a shifting world of like the whole pollution and all that type of stuff, maybe companies just aren't really gearing that stuff anymore. And then even like video games like kiosks, like I have those interactive kiosks. I'm seeing a lot of them kind of like turn into like much smaller scale things or with like a TV that just auto plays, not really like the same of what we used to, have back in the day. So
Yeah,
I feel like it's just kind of shifting and it's going to be a little bit different.
yeah, it already kind of is. And when the pandemic kind of came around, that's when I really started to notice a lot of the in-game activations. Also, musicians are doing concerts in video games. Obviously VR, the technology gets better and better, so that's going to just give advertisers different ways to kind of do advertising as part of things, where instead of it just being a print ad, you're actually playing an advertisement or you're part of the advertisement. It's scary too, because sometimes I'm always wondering, like, have you ever experienced where you're talking about something, you're by your phone, and then later in the day you go onto Amazon and all of a sudden it popped up and I'm like, are they listening? And that's the scary part. They're literally listening to what you're talking about so that later you go on the internet and you see it pop up. That's scary to me. And I think that's real. What do you think of that?
No, it is true because I don't have birds and I never talk about birds. So one day someone had mentioned something about bird food and kept saying it. So next thing you know, I start seeing these ads for different birds and bird food. So now I do it to other people. If
That's
I'm
funny.
by someone's phone and they walk away, I pull up their phone and I go, bird food, birds, bird food. And then they'll message me like, why am I getting all these advertisements for birds
Oh my
and
God.
bird food? So I know it's real.
That's really funny. That's true. It's scary, right? Well, I think we could probably. I mean, you have so much to talk about, and we could probably spend hours talking. But sadly, the show is only an hour long. We've already gone over an hour. But I do want to thank you, Game Raymer, for coming on and hanging out with me. I know we've been trying to get this set up for a bit. But before we go, like, tell us a little about what we can expect from your content in the future. Is there anything cool happening? Anything you want to let the world know before we head out?
No, I do appreciate you having me on. Like once again, I am on like YouTube. I do TikTok videos. I do shorts on pretty much Facebook, Instagram, everywhere you could possibly think of. So I do make a lot of different content. I also I enjoy like the pickup aspect. I do a lot of like gaming talk, just quick little like tidbits of things that I've personally experienced. A lot of traveling with like video game conventions or in the future.
Great.
Even partaking with another, I guess, like YouTube channel called Game Junction, just creating like daily content, just putting all this stuff out there and just showcasing different things and, hoping that bigger things happen in the future so that I can give a lot back more to the community. I want to, create all of this stuff. So it's like never ending. And I see like much bigger things in the future than just content creation. I'm hoping to, kind of dedicate a lot of this, back out there and, just help a lot of people and kind of create these memories and keep them alive and just keep going forward. So, just promoting positive, you
That's
know,
awesome.
image out there and just seeing where we can go.
And I always say, keep an eye on any Sega Saturn stuff out in the wild because that's my baby. And if there's anything cool you ever find out in the wild you think I'd be into and then you don't want, let me know. I would probably be really interested in that. Rad Mad says great episode. and first time chatter, Rad. Thank you for joining. A great episode, and Game Raymer, really awesome. I hope you had a great time. I put everyone in chat. I did ! guest, so you have all of our links there. And if you're on VOD, big thank you to you as well. All of Gamer Ahmer's stuff is right below, from her YouTube to her Twitter to her Instagram, all there for you to check out. And please follow her, subscribe to her, like her, whatever you do on the internet these days, right, Gamer Ahmer?
Yes.
Other than that, I really appreciate your time today. That said, again, thanks everyone for joining the live stream. We're going to be back next Saturday for another episode of Cafe BTW. And Gamer, we have a bunch of other guests coming on, just awesome people like you. So stay tuned. And that said, I want to give everyone a wishful weekend. Stay safe out there. And remember, before we go, I always say this. We only get one shot at this, so you might as well be nice to people. I'm Andy. That's Gamer Ahmer. And we'll see you next time on Cafe BTW, a gaming morning podcast. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you soon. All right. And...